The election of Donald Trump has severe consequences. And just to get an idea of how severe those consequences are going to be, I decided to take a look at the full list of his cabinet choices, including Vice President-elect Mike Pence. Mike Pence is a holy roller, and darn near every time he goes on TV, darn near, not every time, he's always talking about his Christian faith, etc., etc., etc. This guy is a homophobe, and as governor of Indiana, he basically worked with the Indiana legislature to craft anti-LGBT laws for the state of Indiana. The backlash was so intense that shortly thereafter, he signed a repeal of the laws. This guy was going to lose his re-election bid for governor of Indiana, so he got a break when Donald Trump picked him for his vice presidential choice. And his name surfaced deep into the process of Trump picking a vice presidential choice. It's my feeling that somebody was whispering in the ears of a lot of people that Trump was listening to, and they in turn whispered in his ear, because there were several other people more prominent than Mike Pence that were up for the job. But in defense of Mike Pence, he did have a lot of contacts within the Republican Party, specifically within the House of Representatives and within the Senate. So that's Mike Pence. Now, let's jump to the actual secretaries and cabinet level positions. I'm going to pass over Nikki Haley, who is up for a UN ambassador, which is a cabinet level position. And I really don't have much of an issue with her, to be honest with you. First, Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. Mr. Tillerson has been with Exxon since the year of the flood. Mr. Tillerson is about making money, period. And he has made a lot of money in his leadership of ExxonMobil. Mr. Tillerson, however, does not mind ignoring basic decency, and in the past has ignored requests from the U.S. government on his dealings in the Middle East. So Tillerson, as cozy as he is with the Russians, does represent a problem. I don't know how big of a problem it is. I don't know if this guy can actually walk away from his feelings about ExxonMobil. I think that 40 years of working within this company basically has cemented his feelings, though he will probably do his best to keep those feelings undercover, and we'll never know whether his affinity for ExxonMobil will color his judgment, especially when Russia's involved. The next person is Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III. Mr. Sessions is a racist. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't have to bring up the case where he prosecuted 3 civil rights workers for voter fraud. It took the jury 3 hours to find them not guilty, but at the same time, he did no investigations of the surrounding counties for voter fraud, and it just so happens that those counties were white, but that there had been allegations of voter fraud in those counties. He conveniently ignored those. No, I would rather concentrate on the fact that Mr. Sessions, in his history in the Senate, has not really promoted anything to do with civil rights. And as a matter of fact, he's voted against various measures during his history in the Senate against things that would have been considered proactive or progressive as far as civil rights are concerned. He celebrated the fact that Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was struck down by the Supreme Court as a good thing for the South. I'll leave that one there. Secretary of Defense, General James Mattis. To be honest with you, this guy is a career military man, and I really don't have a problem with him. The same goes for Secretary of Homeland Security. That would be General John Kelly. Again, career military man. I really don't have a problem with him. I am thankful, however, that Mr. Trump didn't pick Sheriff David Clark Jr. of Milwaukee County. Secretary of the Treasury, Steven Mnuchin. I'm going to do a separate video on him, but this guy has got to be the biggest snake of all of the nominees that Donald Trump has put forth. This guy is responsible for mortgage foreclosures, shoddy management of the bank that he purchased from the government at a discount and with loan loss guarantees. This is a Goldman Sachs guy, and I'm going to do a video on him momentarily as soon as I finish this one. Labor Secretary Andy Putster. There have been recent allegations of impropriety against Mr. Putster, but his claim to fame basically is that he wants, number one, no increase in the minimum wage, and number two, he wants to replace people with robots, further compounding our problems as far as low wage earners are concerned. Next is Secretary Wilbur Ross. This guy is also about the money, but to be honest with you, he's done what he's done. He's known as a turnaround artist. He acquires failing businesses and basically turns them around and makes them profitable. So I really don't have any major problem with him, other than he, again, does like to acquire businesses, turn them around, filing bankruptcy if necessary in order to turn them around. So if you want to dig further into that particular nominee, you know, have at it. But again, I don't have that big of a problem with him. Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue. This guy was just named. He's the last cabinet position that Donald Trump had needed to fill, and he just did it within the last 24 to 48 hours. Now, as far as the agricultural industry is concerned, there really isn't any thing to complain about as far as Mr. Perdue is concerned. It should be noted, however, that he was involved in a cheating scandal for the Atlanta School District. He also is a supporter of the Confederate flag. He's a moral majority member, and he dodged taxes on shaky property acquisition that was made. And I mean, this thing went through 3 or 4, I'll call them shell corporations, in order for this guy to acquire the property. And he failed to disclose various acquisitions on the form that, the ethics form that he had to complete when he became and continued to be governor of Georgia. The next cabinet member is Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Dr. David Shulkin. I really don't have too much to say about him. He was the Undersecretary of Veteran Affairs under Barack Obama, and there really isn't a whole lot out there. This guy has basically been working in the Department of Veteran Affairs for a while, and nobody really has a bad word to say about him thus far. The only thing that you could say, if you really were trying to make any kind of a case, is the fact that he's not a veteran of the U.S. Armed Services. The next person, see if you got a good look at him, that's David Shulkin. The next person is Ryan Zinke. Again, there's really nothing really bad to say about this guy, other than he does have some slight ties to oil and gas pipeline companies. But other than that, you know, trying to jump up and down about this guy is basically trying to split hairs. Here's one that we know and love, Rick Perry, former governor of Texas. This guy, in his run for the presidency in 2008, made a comment about wanting to shut down 3 cabinet level departments. He was able to name 2 of them, but he drew a blank when he went to name the 3rd one. Guess what? The 3rd department that he wanted to shut down was the Department of Energy. Now, this guy has extensive ties to the oil and gas industry, and if that's all that his department rode shotgun on, it really wouldn't be all that much of a problem. The problem that I see is that this department also oversees the nuclear arsenal, and he has absolutely no experience in the nuclear industry. Now, that's not that big of a deal, because we have had previous secretaries of energy who did not have any nuclear experience. So, you know, again, am I splitting hairs as far as Rick Perry's concerned? Not really, only because this guy, in my opinion, is more than likely in the pockets of the oil and gas industry. Next, Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson is a retired neurosurgeon of tremendous fame. He, however, has absolutely no housing and urban development experience. As a matter of fact, when the story is told about his early life, he didn't even live in public housing. So for him to be tapped for this position basically doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It would have been a lot easier for them to tap him for Health and Human Services. But at the time that they were making that decision, he said he didn't want a cabinet position because he had no experience running a large department in the government. Actually, he had no experience running anything in the government whatsoever, and was not even elected to any type of a public office. The next is a real winner, Betsy DeVos. Her claim to fame is contributing about $200 million to the Republican Party over a short-term to moderate-term period of time. Her other claim to fame is the fact that she is anti-public school and pro-charter school. She was successful in turning over the Michigan school system towards a more charter-based system. However, there has been no accountability for the charter schools that she was successful in converting the Michigan system over to. She is also totally unqualified to run the Department of Education, as she has no major management experience. She has no major loan experience. And if you didn't know it, the Department of Education is the ones that are responsible for student loans. With no experience, she would have to delegate this down. And she was asked questions during her confirmation hearing about fraud and abuse and what she would do about it. She was totally unprepared for that question and couldn't answer it. And then she also was asked questions regarding process versus outcome, which is one of the major points of contention between school advocates. And she didn't even really know what they were talking about. Another winner is Secretary of Health and Human Services nominee Tom Price. This guy has always wanted to shut down the Affordable Care Act. He supposedly has a plan to replace the Affordable Care Act, which he is not revealing, and states that he will not reveal until after he's confirmed. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to cry when this guy receives the confirmation of his appointment as the Secretary for Health and Human Services, because the Affordable Care Act, if the Republicans have their way, and there's a possibility that they won't because of the outcry of approximately 20 to 30 million people in this country, if not more. So on this one, we'll see. The next one I have no problem with. It's the Secretary of Transportation, Elaine Chao, who is the wife of Mitch McConnell. She does have extensive experience in running a large government agency. She was the former Secretary of Labor in the Bush administrations, and there really isn't anything negative really to say about her. She'll go flying through. Anyway, that's a rundown of the people that are going to be in cabinet level positions that have to be confirmed by the United States Senate.